Welcome. You've splash landed into this Prosecco-laden podcast, straight into the woo-woo pool with the crew of Ohm-g. We're just a simple group of tragically imperfect and highly empathic BFFs, exploring a wide range of atypical topics with humor, grace, and curiosity. This is Ohm-g. Welcome. Today's topic is the astral realm and how to tell the difference between astral traveling and regular old dreams. Is there a difference? You're here with the crew of
Ohm-g, the podcast.
This is Camille. This is Liliana.
This is Brenda Sue.
And this is Chandra.
Welcome back. Welcome. We're going to talk about astral. The astral. You heard what I said. Them's is fighting words. So this was a topic that Chandra brought to us after she had listened to a video about astral travel and
On the YouTube themes, as one does.
Yes. So please explain to us a little bit about what you listened to, and then we can share some stories.
Well, the crux of the video in itself was talking about can you know that you've astral traveled? And are there signs or symptoms of it being an astral travel versus just a normal dream? And one of the ones that she was talking about was something I'd never really heard of before or thought about. But once she was explaining it, I was like, oh my God, I have so experienced every one of those. And she was talking about astral places. There are these themes of locations that show up over and over and over in astral travels, like a mall type setting or being an airport, which we've talked about that on the podcast before when we all did the dream jars.
Yes.
And set the intention that we were going to get together in the astral plane. We had different experiences in the airport, but we were all in a version of an airport.
Mm-hmm.
So the airport is definitely one of them. And then there's the quote unquote meeting place, like the conference room, the big open conference room, boardroom in a corporate environment, or what we lovingly call the cafegematorium, one of those open cafeteria style places where you can move the tables and make it into whatever type of area you need it to be for, whatever. You can have concerts there or meetings or whatever. And I'm absolutely, I have experienced every one of those. And I'm sure there are others, but she just gave examples of the places that you go over and over and over that keep showing up. They're not places from your memory.
Mm-hmm.
When you may dream of your childhood home, or you may dream of being at work and it being at a job that you've been at previously.
Mm-hmm.
Those tend to be more your mind processing past things or current events or things through your dream time versus these kind of familiar yet unfamiliar type theme places that show up over and over again. So I just found that very interesting because I'd never really thought about that, but she's right. I've experienced every one.
Mm-hmm. And I think it was just this week or last week because, whenever you're woo friends, you will text each other when you have weird dreams just to say, hey, this was weird. What do you think?
And get that validation of, I'm not losing my mind.
Right. And I think it was this week or last week. I don't remember when. I dreamed I was at this campground. There were picnic tables. And Chandra was like, I had a dream where I was at a campground with picnic tables too. So were we in the same place? Dun, dun, dun. Very possible. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, Chandra, you just dreamed that you were in the mall.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was last week, or maybe it wasn't last week. Maybe it's just a couple of days ago. I don't know. But it was just,
At this point, time being the way that it is.
Mm-hmm.
I dreamed that I was in a mall. So,
Well, and as we were talking about that, we'd also had, you were saying it was very vivid in the dream that you were looking for an exit.
Mm-hmm.
And that triggered something for me that every time I have the dream about a mall, I will inevitably, during the dream, have the thought of, I haven't seen an exit. Or I don't remember how I got in here. It's a reoccurring thing when I have the mall dream of either not knowing how I got in there or not seeing a way out. Not being panicked about it necessarily that I'm looking for it, but just having that reoccurring thought of, how'd I get in here? And how am I going to leave? There's no visible or conscious way to do that as you're in the place. So it's funny that, because I'd never thought about that either, but that we've had that same theme go on in the actual quote unquote mall dream.
And when there's no exit, I mean, that's a pretty clear sign from spirit that you are meant to be here. You will learn something before you are allowed to leave. That's what I get from it.
Mm-hmm.
And are these places, these common places like the airport, the mall, the corporate campus, or whatever it is this just also symbolic for a place where many souls and many types of energy meet and gather and maybe exchange information? All the while, everyone's doing their own thing, but independently together? I don't know. But they do seem to be common places.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when I have the mall dream, it's not that I see like even in my mind's eye, like thinking about it now, I can see all the quote unquote storefronts, but in the dream, I don't see them as stores. Like they're just different. It's like, I feel like if I wanted to experience X energy, I would go in the pink door versus if I wanted to experience Y, but I don't necessarily see them as like retail.
Like accessories or facades
or or just like portals to a different or a certain thing. And I think the airport is kind of like the same thing because you go to this gate to go there and you go to that gate to go there. So I feel very similarly in both of those places as like it's a hub and there's choices to be made of what you're going to experience next and where you're going to go.
That's interesting. Because I'm just trying to think. I wasn't shopping.
Right.
I was at the mall, but I was not looking at merchandise. And I love to shop, just so y'all know.
If there was a store to be had,
I would be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there was nothing. I was literally just wandering around. I do remember seeing some people from my past.
Mm-hmm.
So but I don't remember, like, I think we had a conversation, but I don't remember now what it was. So maybe I was just processing something subconsciously.
Right.
So I have a lot of, or like as we're talking, because I figured this would trigger some memories as we're talking about it, a lot of the airport dreams. And a lot of the times it's like, well, I had one, Mike and I dreamed we were at the airport the same night.
Mm-hmm.
We were sleeping next to each other, right? Dream we were at the airport. We both knew that we were going on an international flight. But in my dream, we had already arrived and we were at the destination that we were going to in the airport at the destination. And he was trying to get there. Like he was trying to get to the airport. He was afraid we were going to be late, all these, things. But we were still having the same dream, which I think is interesting, like sleeping next to somebody. And are you sharing the same space in the astral realm? And then I had a dream this week of being in an airport and got there, didn't have a suitcase, didn't have my itinerary, didn't know where I was going. My two youngest kids were there, but they were like little kids, which I've been dreaming about them being little a lot because, they're about to empty nest me. And I'm sure there's some like sadness around that, processing some of that stuff in dream time. And so I go outside of the airport because I know I've got to go back and get my bag. And we get like everybody that's standing outside of this building gets an alert on their phone that is like a picture, like a high view up of what I believe is Washington, D.C. And the message on it is, do you promise not to come to Washington, D.C.? And you had to either pick yes or no. And then Barack Obama's voice came on. It was the most bizarre dream.
Not free.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I ain't going. Why would I want to go there? But it was just a weird dream. But I have been dreaming about my kids being little a lot. And airport dreams of being there, not knowing exactly, like running late or don't know where the gate is. Or
speaking of that, well, first things first, I never have the airport dream that I'm not dragging luggage. And it's cumbersome or burdensome, or I've thought about like, this is too big for the trip I'm taking, or I wonder if I remembered to put this or that in this bag, but there's always like something around the luggage that I'm dragging when I'm at the airport. So, Freudian away at that, if you will.
right.
Your Gemini twin shows up at her airport gig with no luggage.
Right.
That's the duality of the sign.
But speaking of that, and you guys tell me if you feel like this is like astral travel or if it's just dream processing, but I have a reoccurring dream where I'm on a college campus, and it's never the college I went to. It's just general insert college campus here, but I'm always on a college campus, and I am headed to the next class, but I don't know what the class is, what time it happens, and I can't find, because we always had the itinerary, like they always had like this. I remember it being just a yellow card that they gave you at orientation that told you like on Tuesdays you have at 8 a.m. And I always had that card in the front pocket of my backpack for 4 years, 5 years. I know, Lynn, you've got things to say.
She's about to die over
She
there.
got her hand up. But I mean, being the ADHD Gemini that I am, I always put that card in the same place so I would know where it is. And in the dream, I can never find it. It's not where it's supposed to be. I have no idea where it is, and I don't know where I'm supposed to go. Go.
I'm over here waving my arms, y'all. You know, because I've been studying QHHT and the past life stuff, when you were talking about that, it hit me. That's almost like your place when you're in spirit and you don't know the next incarnation yet.
Like it hasn't formed into an itinerary yet. And that gave me chill bumps. Okay.
Yeah, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a comment about something. As far as the difference between, is this a dream? Is this astral traveling? I know everyone has had the experience of you're sleeping soundly in bed. All of a sudden, you catch yourself from a fall and you're like, and you wake up. I heard many years ago, and this is the logical scientific explanation, is basically you have that reaction because this is a hormone drop. This is when you go from mediocre sleeping into heavy REM, that melatonin either dives or spikes or something, and that's what makes you jolt or jump. I had felt ever since I was aware of the fact that I was astral traveling, that's when I popped back into my own body. Mm-hmm. That's what that jolt is from. It's like, I'm coming in hot. I'm not making a very smooth landing. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's coming back into your body. Like sometimes people dream that they're falling. Yeah, I think they dream that they're falling because they're actually seeing themselves come back down into their body.
Mm-hmm.
They jolt awake.
I think it's like that too.
But I think both can be true because I think us being out of our bodies does have a physiological effect on this body. So I think both of them, if you were just looking at one, that would be the scientific answer to it.
That is a possibility.
It is a possibility that both could be happening at the same time. Because, leaving your body and coming back in has got to have some kind of like physiological, with that energy.
Well, even
you're being outside of yourself.
Your body's still here and your body's just doing what your body does.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2:22.
Nice. So there was one time whenever I was going through like a lot of my spiritual work back at the old house, I've talked about on Pepper Road. I remember being in like a dream feeling and that I was floating above the bed, above my body. And I was reaching over and trying to wake up my husband, and I was panicking because I'm out of my body. I'm out of my body. And I woke up to feeling like, bam, I came back into my body and my entire body just like was buzzing, like energy buzzing. So I think, both things can be true. You can either actually have been out traveling around doing whatever, and maybe sometimes it is just that weird thing, that time between falling asleep and being fully awake. I don't know.
Or your body having a reflex reaction of when that energy comes back.
Mm-hmm.
I say I woke up. I don't know if I was awake, but I saw myself going out the door when I lived in my townhouse. And I was trying to yell at myself,
come back.
I was yelling, wait. Get on out of here. No, come back. But it was interesting because I was awake. At least like my body was awake and I could physically see myself. The door was open and I was going out. And I was like, no, wait. And I saw myself walk back. And my mirage self, or whatever you want to call it, walked behind my head. And I was like, oh, I'm back. That was probably the weirdest thing that's ever happened. It's one of them.
Right.
One of on the list. the only time I've ever had this of like being aware that I was out of my body is very similar. I feel like I woke up and I was laying in bed in the sarcophagus, as I always do, you know, flat on my back with my arms crossed over my chest because it's just how I sleep. But I feel like I'm laying in bed and I wake up and I'm just aware that I'm hovering over my body.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I remember thinking, oh God, this feels so good.
Mm.
Oh, it's so peaceful. I'm like, don't you dare get back in that meat suit. Don't you dare do it. Don't do it. And then feeling it, you know, all those thoughts happened within like a fraction of a second. But just, I guess maybe the body woke up before the energy was completely back in. But I remember it felt so good and it felt so peaceful. And I was like, don't do it. Don't you do it. And so, but that's the only thing I ever remember of like knowing that I was out of my body.
That's a very bizarre feeling, but really cool.
I described it in one of our classes recently online. You know that carnival ride? It's like a big old-fashioned Viking ship, and it just swings slowly and deliberately from side to side, back and forth, and it goes higher and then higher and then higher. That kind of like a big pendulum. That's something else I feel very frequently that lets me know I'm doing an astral travel kind of thing, is that, you know, how it kind of gives you butterflies. It gets you like a roller coaster. That's just something I've come to, like my inner pendulum tells me when, okay, I'm off on a journey.
So I want to shift it just for a second. It's still about astral, but I've astral traveled when I was actually in meditation. Have y'all done that?
Yeah. It's I've had wondered, like, if was it really was it a lucid dream? Was it but yeah, I've experienced like being awake, but knowing that you are in a location that's not the room you closed your eyes in. Yeah.
Or just deep in thought, not even meditating, but very still. And all of a sudden, there you go.
I had not thought about this, but I actually had like a flash of that last night. I'm laying in bed and I'm trying to go to sleep. I haven't, to my knowledge, fallen asleep yet, but I was laying on my back and I just had my head turned to one side. But it was almost like I was seeing through my eyelids. And remember those ceiling lamps that they had in like the 70s that were like the square piece. It was just a square piece of white glass, but it had like the gold like painted on it to make it look like it was like mercury glass or something. Like I had my eyes turned toward that side and it was like I could see through my eyelids and see like the edge of one of those lamps. And I'm like, I had the thought of like, where did that lamp come from? And then I was, quote unquote, I felt like back in my body, but I was seeing it through my eyelids. And I wasn't even there long enough to get like even a feeling of like where it was or what I was viewing or whatever. I just knew that it wasn't the room I was in.
It's like you woke up or you were
I was like in that in-between place right before you,
going on an astral travel and then
I wasn't quite asleep enough to
just peace out.
So of the three like common places that we mentioned, we added like the campground, might be in other places. Is anybody experienced any other ones that you like either have like in the college campus, which I kind of like equate to like the corporate kind of thing. But has anybody have any others that they have like reoccurring dreams in or that you feel like might be like a quote unquote common place that you've traveled?
Childhood homes.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's like, if everybody uses that home as like a common place or if like that's like you processing like old traumas or other stuff. But I can see how it could be like, that could be everybody's version of that common.
Yeah.
But not that long ago, I actually, and when I woke up, I was like, oh, that was an astral travel. I was driving in a truck and the roads were icy, but I knew I was going, quote unquote, home to my childhood home. And when I got there, my dad was there. And I jumped out of the truck and hugged him and I could smell him. Like that was like, that was an astral travel. And it wasn't my childhood home. But sometimes I do think we go back to just process stuff from childhood. But
Well,
I was just meeting him there.
but I wonder if like being on the icy road in a unfamiliar vehicle, to me that feels a lot like the airport kind of thing of like just like the traveling, the going to the it's the going to the place, and then the place was going to be your
Oh yeah, it's like the mode of transportation.
yeah, like the quote unquote astral travel itself was the icy road and the unfamiliar vehicle.
Interesting.
I was in cars last night too. And it was me and my friend Michelle that you guys know. And we were coming back here. I think we'd been at her house, but it wasn't her house because I remember being there. And Lena was in the back seat, but she wasn't in a seat. She was a little girl, like maybe 3 or 4. But she was up kind of between us, like talking. And I looked and I was like, why isn't she in her car seat? So we had to stop and I put her in her car seat. And it was a car seat that my daughter Colleen, who's now 27, had when she was a little girl. I'll be crying soon. All my babies are leaving me. Processing much there. I think I'm processing a lot of stuff with my babies growing up. Yeah. Yeah, I had a dream one time. Dream, in quotation marks. I just did air quotation marks. And it was not long after Bob Benz, who was my teacher in mediumship, after he passed away. And I dreamed I was in this big, office building, but everything was white. The desks were white, the walls were white, the doors were white, everything was white. And he was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it was him just coming by to say hello, or we met somewhere and he was just saying, hey. That was a really cool dream. I feel like Whitney, our friend Whitney, she also was a student of Bob. And I feel like she had a very similar dream of being in a white place too. I remember talking to her about it. It was years ago.
I also wonder if there's maybe a common place that's like a religious type of location, because I have dreams where I'll run into people, but I'll run into people at a church, but it's not necessarily the church I grew up in or a church that I've been to, but it just looks like the inside of a church because it's pews and there's a podium up front that it just looks like a church. But the only time, or one of the few times, that I feel like I had a visitation was in that kind of pseudo church place. And it was my great uncle and great aunt and my grandfather. And there were some other people there that I knew were ancestors that had passed, but I don't remember who they were. I just remember my great aunt and uncle and my grandfather. And I remember my great uncle was a Baptist pastor. And of course, she was the quintessential preacher's wife. But, he just dressed for the times. His suits were always, they were never modern, but they were always he wasn't the type of preacher that would wear a 1970s suit in 1990. He always had on it wasn't the brand newest, but it was of the time. He would dress for the time. But in the dream, he had on a tweed jacket and a tweed vest underneath it. And it looked like a little old timey, but aristocratic was the word I would use. And I remember his wife had a big hat with flip over her eyes, and it had the big roses and big flowers on it.
Was this Easter girl?
Either that or the Kentucky Derby. It was one or the other. But I just remember thinking how good everybody looked, just how well put together, and it was at that point in the dream that I realized it was a visitation, because I was thinking about how happy and how well put together, and just what's the word I'm looking for? When
was their best?
Well, I'm not talking about wealth, but everybody just looked abundant. Let's say that everybody looked overflowing, abundant in the way they were dressed and the way they were acting.
And that hat was overflowing with abundance.
Well, the church would represent sacred space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just let's don't forget the Akashic Library.
Yeah.
Anytime you dream that you're at a
Library,
you're at some sort of travel.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of food for thought. My brain is going back to the dreams I've been having recently.
I had a very strange dream. I guess I can call it a dream. It's one of those occurrences where it's just a moment, it's just a clip. And that's all that stuck with me. And I meant to tell you about it earlier today and got sidetracked, Brenda. But basically, I was at a party in a group of people, and it was at a house in Kansas City I'd only recently been to for the first time. And a bunch of people, I felt like everyone was familiar. We're all milling around, talking, eating, drinking, laughing. The doorbell rings, and it's two relatives I haven't seen in forever. No harm, no foul. It's just, why would you be here of all people? All of a sudden, Brenda scoots out from another room in front of me and is like, so what exactly are you doing here? To them. And then poof, it was over. And it was like, she was just in terrier mode.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, excuse me, hi, who are you? What?
You don't belong here.
I just remembered that, dude. Okay. But it was just, you were in a very protective mode, and it was odd, but it was just a clip. It happened quicker than I had just described it.
That's so funny.
So not a full dream, but you just popped in there, and I was very by that.
What? And just the fact that she came out of nowhere. Like, how did you know that there were like unwelcome people at the door?
It's funny because Brenda came to my house in my dream.
She's been astral traveling on her.
Mm-hmm. I think I've been astral traveling a lot lately.
Yeah. And it was quite interesting because I could see her, and it ended up being prophetic, but I was standing there talking to her, and she came to check on me because, anyway, trying to wrap this up, but
tell the story. It's funny.
It's a long story, and it's funny. Maybe I'll tell it some other time, but I was looking at Brenda, and her eyes kept merging into one. And I said, Brenda, why are you a cyclops? And she said, act right in my dream. She said, I don't know, girl.
That would be my response. I don't know. Why does we do anything?
Yeah. I was seeing her third eye, like, coming back online, or maybe not back online, but coming more.
It was becoming more prominent than even her physical eyes. Yeah.
And that's something that I'm wanting to work on this year.
Yeah.
It's working on my...
It was prophetic.
Yeah.
And then she was going to see my friend Bobby in the dream, and she was going to help Bobby with her right big toe. And I text Bobby, and Bobby was like, no, my right big toe's fine. But then like 2 days later, Bobby texts me. She's like, girl, my right big toe is healing me. And I was like, I tell Brenda.
It's so funny. I did a reading yesterday. I had a couple of readings, but this one client, I don't remember which one it was now, because you know how it is. They kind of run together whenever you read several people. But the person that was coming through from spirit kept showing me their big toe. And I didn't even like connect it until you reminded me about that.
It's a whole nother episode.
We need to make some extra money. I'm just kidding. Okay, y'all. I think that's
Interesting conversation.
that was super fun. So if you have friends who also dream a lot, you should like connect with each other and talk about your dreams, because I think you might find that maybe you're in each other's dreams and you just don't know it, or you're traveling in similar ways at night. And it's always interesting.
Well,
to
and it's
me.
always fun if you have somebody that already does that kind of stuff to set the intention that you dream together and see like if you end up in a common place together.
Even during the week, even if it's not that night, maybe at some point in time that week. Coolio.
So
Okay.
let us know your experiences. What kind of fun you have in the dream space.
Yes. So fun. Life is interesting, y'all. All right. We love you. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other
Love your neighbor.
as yourself.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Please follow and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave a review. It's so easy to do and such a huge help for us. We appreciate your interactions so much. Want to join us at our table? Make sure to check out our YouTube channel and join our Facebook community. If you've enjoyed this content and wish to support us, take a look at our Patreon page. All information and links will be in our podcast description. Catch you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.